In this message, we're going to have some fun. I want to look at some prophecy, some things that the scripture points out to us about what are possibly some of the times that we're going through right now, and the significance of the healed head wound of Revelation chapter 13. In Revelation 13, John tells about a head wound that seems to be unto death, but is healed. So he lives. This head wound, this head that had the head wound lives. And then how people wonder after the beast whose head wound was healed. Now notice it's not the head wound they're wondering after, it's the beast whose head wound was healed, right? So it's just watch that. We have to be careful with really seeing the wording, getting it right, so that we can understand what's actually going on here. What is this head, right? Is it a person? Is it something else? And if it's a person, what does that mean? And if it's something else, what does that mean? The beast John is referring to is something with 7 heads. It has 7 heads. With blasphemies written thereon, and 10 horns with crowns. And it is one of these 7 blasphemous heads that is wounded. John writes of this beast, saying, "And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority." So the power for this beast comes from the dragon. All of his authority, all of his position, the dragon is supplying that for this beast. And I saw one of his heads, now this is one of the 7 heads that's on the beast, as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast. See how it says it wondered after the beast and not that head that was healed? We need to be real careful when we read these things so that we see this stuff. So John here is showing us that the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns has exercised power that has been represented by a leopard, a bear, and a lion. And that no matter its representation, it has always received its power, its seat, and authority to rule and reign from the dragon, which we know is Satan from Revelation 12, verses 3 and 9, saying in verse 3 that it is the dragon that has the 7 heads and 10 horns. So it even just says, okay, we're not talking about the beast now. We're just going to say the dragon has the 7 heads and 10 horns, right? But the dragon always uses this beast system to further his goals. To show us that all who have ruled in the beast system are really only puppets for Satan, because he is the real power behind the beast throne. To find out if the head that is wounded is referring to a person or something else, we need also to read Revelation 17, where John speaks of this same beast, saying, "And here is the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits." So the woman is sitting on the beast. She's sitting on these heads, right? Too, the 7 mountains upon which she sits, right? So she sits on these. Whatever these heads are, we're going to find out here real quick. And the next verse 10 says, "And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he comes, he must continue a short space." This same beast is spoken of by Daniel in Daniel 7, when he says, "I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things." Now we see that in Revelation 13 as well. This beast that has two horns like a lamb and a mouth that speaks like a dragon. So speaking great things, same idea. Here we see the same beast that John speaks of in Revelation 12, 13, and 17. But here in Daniel 7, the seven heads that John speaks of in Revelation 12, 13, and 17 are not mentioned, even though he is clearly speaking of the same beast that John is. We know this because this beast's presence, since the time when the RCC took the reins of power over the Roman Empire in 325 AD, which is the sixth and current beast system being ridden by the RCC harlot to this day. Evidenced by such things as dignitaries from all over the world making their first international visits to their boss, the Pope. They do that to this day to bow before him, but not for much longer. And that's what we're going to get to here too. To bow before him as also the kings of old have done, giving obeisance by kissing his ring as they seek approval from the Pope to remain in their position of power under him. Yes. The RCC is the woman that rides the beast. She's the harlot. And even now, I think we're seeing harbingers of the 10 kings that Revelation 17, 16 through 18 says will destroy the harlot RCC and burn her with fire, to make way for the seventh empire to rule for a short space with the same beast system the harlot RCC has been riding since 325 AD. With some changes, there'll be some changes because there's a greater deception coming, right? These beast systems are all given power by Satan. He gives them their power, their seat, and their great authority, right? This beast system was described by Daniel when telling the king that his dream about a statue having a head of gold, shoulders of silver, torso of brass, legs of iron, and feet and toes of iron and clay mixed, what it meant. That these were to be the empires, not individuals, not individual people, but empires that would rule the world in succession until Jesus came. So accurate is Daniel's description in his letter, in his book, the book of Daniel, of all these kingdoms, all these empires, and all the things that the lot of details that took place to bring them about. That many people who are unbelievers, but they think themselves to be historians, they've decided this had to be written after the fact because it's so wild. Excuse me. Because it's so wildly accurate. And yet we know it wasn't. It was God telling Daniel the future. And Daniel telling the king. So we see clearly from this that the heads on the beast are empires or kingdoms and not a person. And that at the time John wrote Revelation, 5 of these empires had already come and gone. And the one that John said was Rome, as Rome was ruling the world when John wrote this letter. Again, this 7th head on the beast that is to come is to last only a short space. It has yet to come, too, by the way, right? Because I've asked and I've searched, and I cannot find any time in history where 10 kings destroyed the harlot and reigned for a short space. I don't know who they are. I can't see them anywhere. But I think we're getting ready to. So we're living in some pretty exciting times. This beast system that will be with the 7th head will have a different set of rules to govern how business is done. And it is because these kings destroy the harlot so that the trade that happened then is halted. It appears that this 7th head is the head that is wounded unto death and later is healed. The reign of the popes has come to an end, but when the harlot is destroyed, but the method of doing business and policing governments she used only seems to be wounded unto death, but is healed when Antichrist causes the earth and them that dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. So it's the beast, not that head, the one with the head wound, that is worshipped, right? The beast is worshipped. This empire, this whole system, not empire, but whole system that is always there throughout each empire. In Revelation 13, we also see that after the head is healed from its head wound, people will wonder after the beast, saying things like, "Who is like unto the beast? Who can make war with him?" I believe this happens because the head or empire reacquires its power when the little horn or antichrist causes people to worship the beast that went before him, which is, and yet lives, right? The head wound was healed. As is shown in Revelation 13, verses 11 to 12, where it says, "And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. And he had two horns like a lamb, and he spoke as a dragon." See, like Daniel said, he speaks great things, right? Speaking great things. And he exercises all the power of the first beast that went before him. So very interesting. Going to be similar in power, right? Exercises all the power that the one that went before him did. And causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, the beast that went before him. That's interesting. I thought he caused them to worship him. So he caused them to worship the beast that went before him. The beast being a system, not a person. Okay? Whose deadly wound was healed. Here we see the empire represented by two horns like a lamb and a mouth that speaks like a dragon, commanding the whole world to worship once again the sixth head beast system. Which, as I said before, means to me, at least the way I understand this, that people are to return to the kind of business as usual that was going on during the sixth head empire, with the exception of the woman that is the harlot or RCC that was riding the beast. She's gone. She's gone, destroyed, according to Revelation 17. Now, what I want you to see when John says the second beast had two horns like a lamb and a mouth that speaks as a dragon, is that these are the characteristics of the final beast system. This is not describing one singular individual. It's describing what characterizes the system. A system we see details of, so we will know what the two horns like a lamb are from Revelation 11, 3 and 4, where it says, "And I will give power unto my two witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. These are the two olive trees and the two candlesticks standing before the God of the earth." And there's a whole study in that too. Very interesting. These are the two horns like a lamb of Revelation 13. These two witnesses are the two horns like a lamb. That's one of the characteristics that will be there during this final system, this final time when Antichrist rules. And the mouth that speaks like a dragon is, of course, the Antichrist of 1 John 4, 1 through 3, and the man of sin, Paul speaks of in 2 Thessalonians 2. So these are the characteristics representing the final beast system before Jesus returns. God's two witnesses who prophesy throughout the Great Tribulation, and if anyone tries to hurt them, they are given power by God to send fire out of their mouths, and to turn waters to blood, and to smite the earth with all plagues as often as they will. Pretty incredible, right? This is going to be going on, because these guys are going to preach the message God gave them to preach. And at the same time this is going on, Antichrist will be trying to cause all the earth to worship the first beast, the one that went before him, and to take a mark in their right hand or forehead at the threat of not being allowed to buy or sell, which is pretty critical for us to live now, right? You got to be able to buy or sell. Hardly anyone lives off the land anymore like they did in the olden days, right? Something that was threatened and sometimes actually carried out during the recent pandemic. So we saw some glimmers of what's going to happen during the Great Tribulation in this pandemic that we've just gone through, and I guess some still are going through, because I see people with masks on very occasionally, but I hear about it all the time too from friends that live in places where there's a lot more population. We have less people in our state than most people have in their city. So the final beast system rules while commanding worship what I believe refers to adherence and allegiance to the beast system that went before it. The system that suffered a wound that appeared as unto death. But because Antichrist's empire commanded people to worship it, this gave to it new life. The head wound was healed. So that the beast system that ruled the world when the harlot was riding it, that seemed to be, who had a head that seemed to be wounded unto death, when Revelation 18 tells us that all the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her, right? Because she's dead. That's just that part of it's dead, they think, right? And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buys her merchandise anymore, is once again to be used by the Antichrist to rule as part of how he rules during his final empire. The final empire of man on earth. Because Jesus returns and sets up his kingdom for 1,000 years. And when we read what this final empire looks like, we see evidence of this when Daniel says, after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth. Remember the legs of iron in the statue? Now iron teeth. So we want to, this iron tells us that they're connected. It's the same idea. And teeth being, well, look what it says. It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. So during this time when it has 10 horns, this is going to be going on. This is the next empire. Great and terrible, right? He says dreadful and terrible. So there's going to be this transition, and then look out. Things are going to get dicey, especially for those who trust in and worship Jesus and him only. The great iron teeth represent the power by which this beast made war, just as the legs of iron represented Rome, as he devoured and brake in pieces, right? Iron, that is also the legs that represent Rome, that we see in Daniel's telling of the meaning of the great statue Nebuchadnezzar had dreamed of. This means that the power Antichrist wields during his reign will be like what we have seen during the Roman Empire's reign, which totally makes sense since this empire has wildly persecuted Christians, right? The Roman Empire. And Revelation 13:7 says that this beast will make war with the saints and overcome them. This is the beast, the first one, when Antichrist comes, the mouth that speaks great things, when he comes, he will point to that first beast and say, worship him. This continues for the entire 42 months of the Great Tribulation, the time of Jacob's trouble. That's why we don't want to be here. So there's times of the Gentiles, because of this time, this dispensation of the grace of God, we will be able to escape these things and be with the Lord and caught up to be together with him in the clouds if we will trust in him today, before the time that is called the fullness of the Gentiles comes in and is completed. Now, when we consider what it means when the Antichrist commands people to worship the beast system that was healed, who had the head that was healed, it isn't hard to connect the dots in regard to what the seventh empire is really to be all about. That is, that it is brought into being while wielding the same power that it did while being ridden by the harlot, to be used as a greater deception than the empires that went before it. Oh, it's going to have some very attractive attributes. To deceive in even a greater way than ever before. To be used as the means by which Satan will bring as many into his grasp and into hell as he possibly can. Made so by this great deception, or strong delusion, if you will. 2 Thessalonians 2. And as I have said before in other messages, I believe it is very likely that what we are seeing is the 10 kings that are the 10 military generals that President Trump placed over the 10 regions of the world when he came into office. 10 military generals that hate the harlot because of her treatment of children and her child trafficking. God has put it in their heart to hate her and destroy her. These 10 military generals will receive their kingdom with a new beast system as the harlot's destruction is completed. Something that I believe is being done even as we speak. I think it's very possible that it is. I'm not a prophet. I'm not the son of a prophet. I can't tell the future. I only read what the scriptures say and try to understand them and then share that with you. So, we see that Antichrist will use his kingdom, will use in his kingdom also the power this empire had going for it before Antichrist came on the scene. Before he came on the scene, the little horn, right? So that people will be brought to the point of taking a mark in their right hand or forehead in order to buy or sell. This is why we will see the beginnings of what will be the main emphasis during the reign of Antichrist coming to bear during the reign of the 10 kings that destroyed the harlot. It's all a setup. It's bringing us right into the reign of Antichrist. It's not a break. It's not a, we finally won and it's better and we got the 1,000-year reign of Christ, like I hear a lot of new agey kind of talk saying. That the Great Awakening, all that, that's not what this is. It's a Great Awakening, all right, but to what? Right? Because the next kingdom is not the kingdom of Jesus Christ. It's the kingdom of the 10 kings, and then after that, the Antichrist. So we know, right, that it's a beast system that is given power, its seat, and great authority by Satan himself. Because even though these 10 kings destroy the harlot, they are neither God's people, nor are they even godly people. But at least 7 of them are totally fine with being used by Antichrist during his reign, because he takes out 3 by the roots. And now what appears to, and what that appears to be now, as of this writing, will come from the use, I think, of the Noahide laws and the Abraham Accords during that time. Laws that make the worship of Jesus a capital offense. Hence the statement that this beast system makes war with the saints and overcomes them by the head whose wound was healed. By the beast who had a head wound that was healed. One of his heads was healed. And the Antichrist's use of it to cause all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the number of the beast, or the number of his name. So this is what I believe about the things we are seeing happening in the earth today. A system that has been written and used by the harlot RCC to rule the earth is being freed from her rule and being called a Great Awakening. And changed to a system in which people are deceptively more free. And as she is destroyed, the next empire of the 10 kings will rule for a short space before the Antichrist assumes his reign, using the same beast system powered by Satan, the harlot used for thousands of years to buy and sell, so that he can cause all, both small and great, rich, poor, free and bond, to take his mark of allegiance to him. That's why I was saying loyalty, allegiance, right? Is this worship, right? To him upon their right hand or forehead. Legs of iron that will be iron teeth, used to devour and break in pieces all who try to resist Antichrist's rule, his edicts, his mandates, if you will. Even taking out 3 of the 10 horns whose hearts God had put it in to destroy the harlot. And he ascends to his position of power to reign until Jesus comes to destroy his kingdom. And it's over. It's over for him. So knowing this, what manner of people must we be? We need to be the kind that have secured our place in God's kingdom, right? And we do this by trusting in Jesus and his resurrection with nothing added to it. We are believers. We are the called out ones, the ecclesia of God. Paul says that if we will confess with our mouth the Lord Jesus and believe in our hearts that he is raised from the dead, we will be saved. We will secure our place in God's kingdom. It's where he wants us. It's not God's will that any should perish, but that all should come to a saving faith in Jesus. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever will believe in him should not perish but have everlasting life. He loves us. He wants us in his kingdom. He's done everything that's necessary for that to happen. All that on his part he can do. And now it's up to us with our free will to say yes to the gift. Because it is with the heart man believes and is righteous. And with the mouth confession is made unto salvation. A salvation that makes us children of God by birth. The birth of a spirit in us that never existed before. A spirit that makes us God's children and therefore heirs to his kingdom. So to be ready for Jesus when he comes, so that we can meet him in the clouds, to take his people home, when he takes his people home, we must trust in him and his resurrection. He died to end the old system for Israel, and he raised in power, giving power to a new covenant. If we will do this, then heaven will be our eternal inheritance. Yes. If we will do this, then we will have eternal life at the resurrection. And at the resurrection, immortality. Eternal life now, immortality then. If we will do this, then whether Jew or Gentile, I will see you there or in the air.